It has been said that if you have a weak sun, you have weak immune system, low self-esteem. If you have weak moon, it causes depression, drowsiness. If you have weak Mars, you lack courage. If you have weak Mercury, it decreases your ability to make decision. If you have weak Jupiter, you lack direction in life. If you have weak Venus, you'll be dissatisfied with material things. If you have weak Saturn, you lack discipline. If you have weak Rahu, it causes confusion, depression, emotional imbalance. If you have weak Ketu, you might get involved in bad habits like drug addiction, alcohol addiction, etc. And all the problems are just the byproduct of these major problems. So by end of this video, you'll get 3 tips that will remedy the majority of the issues caused by these planets. So let me rephrase whatever I said. Weak sun, low self-esteem, weak moon, depression, weak Mars, lack of courage, weak Mercury, lack of ability to make decision, weak Jupiter, no direction in life, weak Venus, dissatisfaction with material stuff, weak Saturn, lack of discipline, weak Rahu, confusion, depression, weak Ketu, bad habits. So friends, let's be practical now. Let's forget about gemstones. Let's forget about weird rituals that somebody told you to do. And if you do so, you get rid of all of these ill effects of bad planets, ill effect of the planets. Let's forget about huge expenses for remedies. You literally have to spend $0 to find a remedy to all of these problems. So what do you think is the root cause of all of these problems? Think. I'll repeat: sun, low self-esteem, moon, depression, Mars, lack of courage, Mercury, lack of ability to make decisions, Jupiter, no direction, Venus, dissatisfaction, Saturn, lack of discipline, Rahu, confusion, Ketu, bad habits. So if you take a closer look at all of these problems, I'll give you some time, okay? You think, what do you think is the root cause of all of these problems? You can even pause the video. The root cause of all of these problems is your mind. It is your mind that says you lack confidence. It is your mind that causes depression. It is your mind that says you lack courage. It is your mind that says you are dissatisfied with something. It is your mind that tricks you to be not disciplined. It is your mind that creates confusion, and it is your mind that's the cause of the bad habits. So the thing you got to understand is it is your mind that feeds you with these negative emotions. So if you are able to control your mind, you literally won the battle. But this is not my first tip. I repeat, this is not my first tip. It is yet to come. The thing you got to understand is the major cause for all of this problem is your mind. So how do we train our mind and get best of ourselves? The first tip is to understand the unified field. I repeat, unified field. Understand unified field and take a dip there more often. So what is unified field? Unified field basically is a field of consciousness. This field is known as pure consciousness or self, since the unified field constitutes the deepest reality, and hence it's the true identity of everything in nature. It is consciousness aware of itself alone, devoid of any individualizing influence or external object of experience. Okay, I'll put that in a simple word. In simple words, every adult human being with a functional nervous system has 3 levels of consciousness: waking consciousness, deep sleep, and the dreaming state of sleep. Similarly, the universe has its consciousness known as universal consciousness that includes the universe and everything in it, including us, and it is the pure source of knowledge. Nobody needs to teach apple tree to grow apple on it. It never grows a mango in an apple tree. But nobody taught apple tree to grow apple in it. It's the nature that is expressing in a form of apple. So it's the universal consciousness. So if we can tap into that universal consciousness, we get more aligned with the nature, and we start to understand how the nature works. We get more clear. Nobody is perfect, but we get clarity with our mind if we can take a deep into this universal consciousness. But how do we take a deep into this universal consciousness? Our mind is our greatest friend and our greatest enemy. If we can control our mind, or if we can silence our mind and let nature take over us, or let universal consciousness take over us, our mind becomes more clear and we are more aligned with the nature. And since we are living in the nature and we are sharing everything with the nature, if we are more aligned with the nature, we can live in this nature happily. So if we can somehow silence our mind, we can tap into this bliss. And one way is by practicing the breathing technique or practicing meditation. So if we practice meditation, meditation is the way to silence your mind. It takes you to the level of consciousness which is beyond the three level of consciousness that I talked about. It is beyond the sleep, the deep sleep, and the waking consciousness. It's above that consciousness. It takes you above that consciousness. And if we go above that consciousness, we can experience the unified field. The thing is, like, according to Rig Veda, knowledge is structured in the level of consciousness. So higher the level of consciousness, more clear our perception becomes. If we see the same object from different level of consciousness, we perceive that object in a different way. Lower level of consciousness perceives that object in a different way. Higher level of consciousness perceives the same object in a different way. If we somehow can tap into the unified field, we can win over depression. The next tip is the realization of death. Every human who is born must die. That is the ultimate truth. And I am pretty sure everybody knows about it, but we act as if we are immortal. The mere thought of death scares us. We ignore the fact that we'll die one day, and we all know there is no escape. Everybody knows that we'll die, but we act as if we'll live forever. But the thing is, when we start realizing, knowing and realizing is two different things. When we start realizing this fact that we will die one day, for sure there is no escape, we know life is not that long. We'll understand life is not that long, as there is not enough time for us to do something foolish or things we are not interested in. If we realize this fact, we'll start believing in actions and we become disciplined towards our goal. We'll respect time and we'll be more disciplined. So the realization of death, or the realization of Mahakal, or the realization of Shiva. Realizing Shiva, realizing Mahakal means realizing death, accepting death, that it is sure to come. And we have a short period in this material world, will help you respect time and become more disciplined. And my last tip is to have a mentor or a guru. The guru can guide us in channeling our mind to things that matter most in our life. Astrologically, this will boost the auspiciousness of Jupiter, Sun, and Saturn, and we can follow the above two tips, the realization of death and understanding unified field. We'll easily be able to find a guru. Matter of fact, we do not even have to find a guru. The guru will somehow find us. So following all three tips is really, really important for us to remove all of the ill effects of the planets. So if we follow the above steps, we'll build self-esteem, we'll win over depression, we'll gain courage, we'll have an ability to make correct decision. Our ability to make correct decision increases. We'll win over our bad habits and our confusion will turn into solution. I repeat, our confusion will turn into solutions. And all of us are smart enough to know that if we have the above quality, there is no need to be dependent on planets, and we can be the ruler of our own destiny. But the thing to understand are, these are not overnight processes where we follow this step one day and from next day you are all set and you're all happy and you're like ha ha ha, ha every time. It's not gonna happen like that. It's a slow progress. It's a learning progress. It's your spiritual path, and everybody has their own learning curve for something. But the thing to understand is, and the thing you got to trust is, this definitely works. There is no doubt about it. If you follow this step, it definitely works. I've seen significant amount of change in me, and it has led me to be peaceful and be more productive, and I'm really thankful I was able to make some bold and courageous decision only with this mentality. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do so. Hope you all benefit from this tip as well. Take care. Bye. Love you all.